You might probably see that they're a different color, different stones on each side, different heights and such. You can see maybe how the stones are burned out in different places and such. And then you can go down and see the roof. It's a pretty fancy setup. In that hole there, they would run a water cooler in, the same as on the side that I came in. It would more or less, I don't know what it really did, keep the glass at the right temperature, what they put it in and out and over and under. This was the other end, and the mouth that you're looking at is where the glass came out. It had a little chute there and went on down into the tin bath, which was melted, and that's how they got the finish on the glass and everything else. They still have a lot of glass in this tank here. Probably not too much, but they've drained out the biggest part of it. That was a process. It was a very hot job. This shows the arch, the roof on the inside of the tank, the way it was, and how the bricks sort of all blended in, melded in together, and going down, and we come back down the other side of the tank, and each one of the ports where the gas came in. They have a sample of the glass sitting up in the cullet, but this was a fill end of the tank. It went on down through there and inside just where we were at. The part here is what they call the pusher. The batch fell down on this part and it moved back and forth maybe 6 inches or so and pushed the glass on it, the batch on into the glass, and it melted. When you looked inside from the end in the melting glass, it looked like it was logs rolling down through there. Down on the bottom of that is a water cooler that kept cool. It sat right down at the glass edge and would push on down through there and push the batch in. Many of them I had made and put in, 2 of us, maybe 3 of us. Jim Laban, the fellow that was up there moving some of the stuff out, was probably involved in it. Here come I go over it again. Let him take another picture of me. He likes to get in on the camera and everything else, so we wouldn't want to miss out on anything. This was the pipes going into the air, the blowers, and keeping the stuff cool. This is the general vicinity of the batch house. I mean the batch mix going into the tank. If there's mistakes made on it, there'll always be mistakes made. And the man not making any mistakes, there's something wrong. But there's another port check in place there, and this is steps. That's where they go underneath to check the bricks to see how they're doing. If they're too red, put a little more air on them. If they're not, that's fine. This is the side they drain the tank from. It's the south side on the tank. Really not a whole lot to see in here. In my days, they had a big blower in here that blowed air to hole it was up on the top. But other than that, there's not much changes done in it. We'll just take a view of the side of it and come on back up to the front if we can and take a picture, but I don't know how the light's going to hold out. It's still getting so. It says the light's getting low, but we didn't get that much. This is the area where they dumped the color in for making the glass, or just changing the color. If they want to change the color, they just pour pure old stuff in and melt it down and push it out. Then put a little color into it and let it go, and then it goes up the elevator here, on up to the top, and goes over into the hopper it was in on the inside of the tank. And we go over here and we can see if both the smokestacks coming out from the tank. This is a different type of smokestack than they had on the old tanks, but it's a smokestack. This is a picture Frisco Railroad going across Joachim Creek. It brought all the stuff in for us, the big part of stuff. They had a depot over here, but they tore it down. Down low, you can see the water going under. They used to dump a lot of stuff into the creek until contamination deal came in, and they filtered it in and did all they could possibly do. Otherwise, it's up quite a bit right now. It was over the road there for a while, and then we go back over here and we can see the old storage tanks that they had for heat and tank purposes. This is what they called a cooling tower. You put water in it and run down over the different things in there to keep the water cool to go into the tank and everything. They had the big fan up in the shop when we were up there. You saw the big fan sitting on the table. That was up in the top, right on the top there, where that is that there. And that was, I never did really see that in actual use, but the electrician that was showing us around up there, he said that's what it originally was. This is another water tank. They took care of their own water for their own use and let the city take care of their water for themselves. But for a long time they did furnish the city with water. This is what they called a storage area for the water cooler and stuff, and then we go on down and it's called it bins. They used to have coal out here in all this area, and after they quit using coal, well, they went into using gas and stuff. They didn't have coal anymore. But the coal piles would catch on fire and smoke and burn, and they had hoses and a lot of fire plugs, and in a distance down towards a building down there that we're bringing in now. That was originally the carpenter shop. And in the process, they did all the work down here that they did up in the other end. My dad worked on this end, right where the door is at. You open the door and there was my dad. So I didn't have too far to go to see him then. But now he's not around, so died many years ago, about the time I got out of service. These all are sheds, little shed there. That's got a fire hose in it. And you go on around and get back down into the vicinity of the carpenter shop and around the fence and down the road here. And just right in that area there, you'll see another one of them sheds. They got fire hoses in them sheds. We thought you'd like to know. This is a layer on the float tank coming down through, going to the Wareroom. It run a long way down through. We'll pan on down through the side of it until we get to the other end. And then we'll stop down there and take a few pictures down there. We're still going down through the layer. That part that's all enclosed there is a drive shaft. And right there is a drive unit that drives so many rolls going down through there. If a section of them went bad, they shut that off usually, and you change the rolls in it or whatnot, and then they kept on going. And then over on the other side, that was another drive section, drove down maybe 15, 20, 25 rolls and went on. And if you had any roll trouble, it was all chain drive and went up through there and around, and that's how they turned the rolls getting down through the part of the tank there. This is more of the layer going down through. We're going down the Wareroom, then we're going to get out of here. That's the entrance going into where the grass is out in the open, but there's no grass. This is a picture of the drive shafts going along the layer that I previously spoke about. how they drove the rolls in the machine. Each one of them little gears was on another gear on a roll going into the tank. Had the bearings in the middle. The big one with the drives coming off the motors, pushing the gears on down through. Then they come on down and had another bearing on each end, and they had a coupling down at the end. They coupled them all together and made them into one unit. Just looking up through the side of the layer. There's two people standing up there, but I really can't tell who they are. There's two people, that's all I can tell you. This is a picture of the pack tracks, the haul the packs on. We'll get around to them eventually. We run out of batteries and don't have any more batteries, and we have to find electric now to more or less take these pictures, but it's a pretty quiet place. This is originally was the Wareroom department, and it's a storage area now and a little bit of everything else. These were put at the end of the stacks of glass to keep them from falling out on people. They put it in. There's a, see, as that is there, they got the arms down on the rack holding the boards in. That glass behind it, and if the glass breaks, it won't fall out and hit somebody. That was the general purpose of the boxes, and then you can go on up through here and see what we got up through the rest of the factory. This is more or less a storage area, loading area, and such. There's the boxes full of glass, and here's boxes full of glass. They have to get out and everything before they go ahead and get rid of stuff in the factory. We're going to take a greater view of it here, kind of move ourselves. This is one of the cranes that picks up the stuff and the glass and moves the boxes around and such. This is a 5-ton. You notice over in the machine shop there was 10-ton, 45-ton, and the such as that. So a lot bigger cranes. And over here, they don't really have the weight that they had over there. This is more storage area. They pick these packs up. I don't know if you can see them yet or not. This is boxes here. Not boxes, but they're dead heads or whatever you would want to call them to hold the glass in to keep it from falling out. We'll take a little bit of a different view of it. Maybe we can catch it in there, and maybe we can't. Where you can see the racks. See so many plates. I don't know, remember how many it was, maybe 20, 15. They pick them all up at one time. They tried to pick them up one time. They did come up with this idea. They brought a big magnet in, and they had a big chunk of iron underneath it. In the process of trying to get that glass picked up, the magnet going through the glass, or eventually they had too much load or whatever it was, it didn't work. So then they came up with something else, and it didn't work. And finally they came up with these packs, and they have a special outfit that goes in. We'll get down there if we find any electric, and here you can see more of the trucks up in this general area here of what they haul the glass on and do other things. We'll get a better view of that. And then over here you can see pallets with wheels on them. They'd load the boxes on them and take them over and put the glass in them and pick the glass up off the pallets, push them around different places. If they was going to put a lid on them, nail them together and put them all, and then pick them up and move them out. This is a general area of where the Wareroom was in the old factory. I don't know why I say old factory, but it was old in comparison to this, and this is not one of the newest factories they got, but it is. I think it was a good factory yet, but they don't think so. Here's another crane that run down through the. This is number 43. This is a 10-ton crane. They had a lot of cranes through here, and a lot of them jumped track. Many a time we got called in during the night when I was in the riggers and jack them up and put the wheels back on the tracks. They'd bump one another together, and oh, it was a hot, dreary, sweaty job, dirty job, everything else going on. And changing the wheels wasn't one of the best jobs yet. We're down in the far end of the layer now, the glass layer. That was an inspection shed there. They sit in there, and if anything come through it looked like it was a piece of bad glass or something or other. It was sort of a dark room with ultraviolet light underneath it. It shined up through the glass. We seen scratches or whatever was up there. Went ahead and marked that spot, and then whenever the glass cut and went on through, it was taken out, and they pulled that piece of glass away. Now, they had automatic cutters up on the other side. We don't have to be able to go up. This is a general area of the inspecting with all the lights and everything. They looked up there and had the lights and went on down. And here was another control room here. They had computers up there that then they could call and tell anybody what was going on and all this and that. This is some of the crossover, run over to the electric panels on the opposite side for running the conveyors and everything else, and it goes on down, and then it goes on the conveyor. This is open conveyor here, the glass road on down through there. It got down through here going up. It either went or it didn't go right there. They had what they call a drop table. It come up. If it come up and had the glass on it, it headed north, which is in the area of this part right here. This is what they call the lift table. They made the packs on that table. And on down farther is what they call the chopper. If the glass was no good, they sent it on down through and it got into an area where they had an outfit just turn and spin and bust the glass up in little pieces and went out in a chute there in a conveyor outside into the cullet hoppers and such. And you can also back in the end see another crane back there. Or they had crane after crane after crane. They had a lot of cranes. That's one thing about them. They had a lot of things to lift up with and stuff. These were all tables that they put the glass on. I wish there was an operation so we could show you, but they're not, and that's about all we can tell you. We'll try to move over a little further. This is what they call a pack truck. We call these packs of glass after they were filled, and they have one filled right over here. We're going to take a picture of it. I'll move around here a little bit, and we'll take a picture of this and try to bring it in. We worked here many times. Controls for which one of the cranes they want to take the glass off of. That one down here has got part of a pack on it. This one over here looks like it's almost got a full-size pack on it. So you've got the vacuum cup that goes over on the conveyor and picks the glass up off the conveyor. It stops right in certain spots, goes over automatic and picks the glass up, brings it back over and sets it down on this pallet. These pallets are all picked up at one time. They raise up into position. Is the one we're going to go down here and take a look at in just a minute. And you can see where it is raised up into, there it is, it's raised up in that position. Then this truck goes in and it has feet on it. It's down at the bottom. You can see the feet right there on the bottom. It comes over and goes back into the side of the pack of glass. That is the foot there where the foot off the truck goes in and hits, and the glass sits down on it. This is all automatically done. There is the other foot on the other side. Whenever the truck goes in, that's a stop point. the glass is sitting up a little bit off the truck. You can either raise the truck up and pick the glass off of it, or the table will sit down maybe 4 or 5 inches and clear the thing. Then he tilts the truck back, picks the glass up, and that's how they move it around now. This part you're looking at here was the color crusher. If the glass was no good and come on down and they run it on out into the end, it busted the glass up in little pieces. If it was good, then the table raised up in the part here and went on to that belt conveyor going that way. Then it went on up that way, and then there was just cutting machines in there, and they cut it different sizes, went on up. They had packers on each side. They loaded it into boxes and went on down through there. And these are wheels that put the glass into where they wanted it, and that's it. On the other side is the same as this side here. It's all this is another view of the packing racks and such as they had to push in. And we'll get over to one forlong. There's some of the different sizes of glass they put. Each buggy had a different size glass they put on it. Whatever size glass it was cutting or whatever color and everything. They didn't necessarily have to have it coming out of the float tank or into the place here. They could take it off the pack trucks and put it on the conveyor and put it in there, and then running through the computer what they wanted to cut and cut it out and make the size of one, load it into the boxes, and away they go. This is another area where they box their glasses up in boxes. You can see a little lift table over here to your right as we go over. We're going into the area there. They put a box in there, put the glass in it, get it all together, nail the box together. Then they come in with this truck here. When they raise it back up in the position it's in, you see the chains on the side. They throw the chains over the ends of the boxes and haul the glass out either to a truck or put it in storage or whatever they're going to do with it and get it ready for shipment. And that's how they do it now, but in the old days they didn't do it that way. They picked it up with cranes and a lot of danger of people getting hurt and stuff like that. But it's more of a safety feature now than it was in the days whenever we didn't have too many things to operate with. I thought we'd get over in the back side. As long as we get in here in the main part of the factory, I'd say we're doing good, and we're taking care of it pretty well on down through there. We got a lot of fans running. It must be hot as the dickens in here. And I'm sorry if you see things that you don't want to see. Pipes coming across through there, a truck run into it one time. We had to work about 2 or 3 days changing that pipe, putting new pipes in and everything else. I'll never forget that. It was quite a deal, that long pipe going through there, a truck run into it. They had it up too high and knocked it out. And, oh boy. This was a general area of the Wareroom. They had cutting tables in here and everything else. In the old factory days, had a lot of cranes that picked the plates of glass up and take them to the cutting tables. That's why there's so many cranes in. They would all use to pick the glass up. This is all glass that's ready to be shipped out. There's pallets of it there, and there's boxes of it here ready to go and everything. They had cranes on probably each end. They couldn't get up to one end to the other in time to get a load. They sent another crane in to get it and keep everybody in a busy. This is over on where they loaded railroad cars, tractor trailers and such. You can see another crane sitting up there, and then they come down and got these boxes. They picked them up with a double chain. Throw them over the ends. I'm going to show you right here on this box just what they did. See how the ends of the boxes are longer on the top, right across, and go over here and coming to the end, they stick out, oh, maybe 3-4 inches. That's just long enough for the chain to go over them and not use too much room to get. This is another general area. It's more or less packing and shipping and such. They got another crane sitting up there in the end, up high, and these are the boxes that they load into the trucks, and them are pallets over on the other side. This must be the general area of the electric department now. On the opposite side is the mechanical department. There's nobody here. I guess they really don't need nobody here. They ain't got nothing to do. I ain't seen but 2 people the whole day, and that was Mr. Cooper and This Mr. Cooper. He's working in the mechanical department right now. His son and my son went to school together. My son is a civil service man. Mr. Cooper's son is an electrician. He was at a Union Electric plant at Fulton, and now he's in Imperial someplace. I don't remember where he said he was at, but we're old friends and didn't know it.
Listen, y'all take care.
Okay. This is what was a machine shop back in the good old days. Come over here and got your work orders and left out, and they still got some electrical stuff in here. These are belts and different things. They got a microwave oven in here and a regular oven and all kind of test equipment there on the wall and everything. Keep running what they got running now. And I guess everybody's gone. It seems to me like it, they ought to be gone if they ain't by now. And that is the machine shop. There's 2 of the few people that are here. The watchman and Mr. Cooper, he's heading on out. It's quitting time. I don't know when my cohort wants to quit. These are all boxes that are ready to go. These are trucks that haul the glass or whatnot. Some of the stuff have been up for sale and others. This is a park truck here, and this is one of the pack trucks that it packs up and brings them out to the regular area where they load the glass. Here's a battery area where they charge the batteries and stuff for the little trucks to pick the pallets up. And if they got a big one, they pick the batteries in and lift them up with a hoist and set them in the trucks. There are a lot of them, and they got a lot of trucks down through here. We probably can't is the park truck. These are going over into the area where the battery chargers are at. They used to be down on the other end, and these are chargers for the trucks to pick the glass up and haul it around. We're going to start over in this area here because this used to be the old Duplate locker room. And come on down through there, and we're going up here and we're just panning the area. We're not going to try to make too much history of it or anything else, but it'll give you a general idea. And there's another bunch of boxes ready to go. There's some more ready to go. There's some more ready to go. Got a lot of stuff that's ready to go out. This was the old Duplate area. If you look straight across, that should have been, to my estimation, the scratch wheel room. Then we go on down, and all you see in here is glass, packs of glass, packs of glass, packs of glass. Lots of packs of glass. Got more glass down through that way, on down, and on into the area. There's some that's ready to be loaded into boxes. All this other stuff is in the racks. It has to be boxed up before they can ship it out usually. This is a control panel for the pickup crane, turnover crane, and what have you here. You can see it brings the glass in and puts it on here, and the vacuum cups pick it up. They got a pallet on the other side, same as they have on this side. They load it into boxes on them frame there and pick it up and lay it down and bring it over into the side of this here tilt conveyor, crane, or hoist, or whatever it is. That holds the glass on it, the big pallet. This is a loading area also. It was rough racks for the tank department. This is the feed on the pack truck. I'm going to show you the complete operation of this truck that I know, and so you all understand. They run that feed into the bottom under the pack, the glass. It has a screen on back of it for a safety measure in case any of it breaks and goes in and falls on the driver. Up at the top, you see those kind of clamps like. Whenever they get the glass, they pull them down. That hasn't changed in 15 years. They pull them down, and in the process, that clamps the glass on the truck. In the process of being clamped on the truck, they tilt it back a little bit instead of being straight up and down, and that way they can haul the glass and not worry about it going to fall off or the bottom going to slide out because the truck's tilted back. This is a Clark truck. It's what they call a pack truck, and they use them all over the factory to haul the packs. You can see them down through the place and everything. That's all they have here now. This is another area of the storage for the pack trucks. As I stated before, they got a lot of packs and stuff that they got to get out of here before they can do much otherwise. And we're going to get out of here pretty soon ourselves. That's a hallway. That used to go into what they call the dew plate and Herculite and different places. Go over in the Wareroom. One side you went into a locker room, the other side you went on over and cross. They also run those pack trucks down through there and take them over in the Wareroom. This is a picture of the present day scales for weighing the trucks after they get loaded. All this stuff to be sold in an auction. We're going to take a different route than the route we were on the first part of this tape. We're going to the back side now. We were over we're going to stop at the loading area. This is the general area where they used to have the emery mill and such. Ground different stuff. They had cast iron balls that they put in and would grind the emery down into real fine particles. That's Don Miller walking there. He's a historian here on this. I'm Robert Schlneter. But anyhow, there's nothing left here now. They haven't used the emery mill since, oh, Lord, I don't know how long. When they shut the old-time factory down, well, they disbanded that part and tore it all out. But this was the general area where they had that. This was back, in the Depression days and stuff. If you was lucky enough to have somebody working down here and they tore up an old bearing for disparts or scrap or something or other, they had these round balls in them. They were real shiny, just like a regular bearing, but in the process of having them, if you had somebody that was working in the mechanical department, you could get one of them shiny balls, but if they weren't, and somebody would go over by this emery mill, they would pick up one of them old cast iron ones, but they weren't really any good for anything, really. They just rust up and kind of make you ashamed of yourself to have one when somebody else had one of the regular bearings. But this is a general area where they
they ground the emery and made it ready to work on the glass, grind and polish it. This is like all factories. They had good housekeeping signs on the wall and safety signs and everything. They put more of them up after I left the hospital than they originally had in. Don's catching a cold and sneezing a little bit. We want to run up to the Grace Presbyterian Church, which used to belong to Pittsburgh, and take a picture of the quilters. After a while, we wouldn't say they're going to be on this date, but they've got one of the church and the quilt they're working on. So this used to be the entrance to the duplate Herculotte apartments. You come down through the area where we just showed you and went down through these doors here. They weren't on there then. They just had an old door hanging on there, and you walked on down along. This was the general area where the glass came out of the grinder and polisher department and went down to the Wareroom where they took it off with a big crane, and a lot of times the plate would break up in the air and fall down, and a lot of them got cut up pretty bad at different times. My neighbor, he got bunged up pretty bad. He's got a few fingers that don't work anymore and such as that. Otherwise, that's the reason we wanted to show you this general area. There's really nothing there. In this area here was more or less a receiving area. It says loading area there on the side, but storeroom would have truckloads of this stuff come in, and they'd unload it in this general area here. They got somebody I guess that's over in the packing gang, right around the corner. We'll be there in a few minutes, and you can see what all that hammering is. This is where all that noise was coming from a while ago that you heard. These fellas here is loading glass out into a truck, getting ready to haul it out. They used to put that glass in them boxes like that and take them down for overseas shipment. They had some kind of a spray they sprayed the inside of them with and everything, and get the bugs out of them so they didn't carry no germs overseas or anything. We thought you'd like to know about that. That's them gentlemen over there beating around on part of their trailer. They can't get the lifts up high enough, I guess, for them to move out. But this is the general area where they used to bring the railroad cars in. Railroad cars full of glass. They had quite a bit of railroad. One year they had a lot of snow and everything, and in the process, a piece of booyer was on there. Oh, it was cold and bad out and everything else. He went into the boss and he said, "Boss," he said, "I hate to tell you, but I'd like to exercise my seniority and get off of this job." He said, "Well," he said, "now's the poor time to get off. How come you decided you want off of it now whenever the weather's bad like this?" He said, "I want to drive a truck." So he went to truck driving then. This is a general area here where they would back the trucks in and load them. That's what them fellas were doing. They were trying to extend the load on that truck to make it so they could haul it on the highway, get it in the right weight area of the truck. At one time, Pittsburgh made some of the largest plates ever made in the world, and sent them up to a building up in Canada. I don't remember what the name of the building was, but they sent them up there to... They had a guy that hauled them especially. He had a double trailer, like some of these double trailers going down the road. You see now weaving back and forth. They had to drive at night and everything else. This fellow, I think, hauled 19 plates and only broke one. One got busted, but after they quit hauling that, he was driving a regular truck and went around down by the post office in Bristol City, and the load shifted, turned the truck over and dumped the load of glass out on the street down in front of the post office. This is a truck coming in to get a load of glass and get loaded full of gas now. few ones. This is a special truck that they had. This is pulling the trailers around and putting them in different spots where they were going to put the glass. We were right in the area where they were going to put it, but he said where it was going. So we're going in the building here now. You can barely see it. You can just barely see it moving in there now under the step. In the factory when they had work there was quite a few of these going on and stuff like this. They bring the boxes up with cranes, got chains on them, load them in, pick them up, cover them up.
Yeah.
Of course, he's gone.
Got a permit through the Historical Society. We'll try to grab hold of it.
This is a truck driver. I don't know who he is or where he's from or anything about it. Who are you? Where are you from? What are you doing?
Joe Wan from Desoto, Missouri. Been here for 17 years. That's the only job I've ever had. Spot and trailer.
Who hauls this glass out now?
We're down to about 6 different truck lines. AJ Metler hauls most of it. PPG Corporate Trucking still hauls some. Supreme Express, which is hauling these export containers. There's not too many carriers left that are in full anymore.
How take the rest of the year?
Yeah, I think so.
Probably to get all the glass.
I think so.
This is four of the boys that are still working here. They're going to load up this truck. We're going to take a picture of them picking it up with the crane, and there's a...
Because I had talked to him a few times. I like
They're getting the boards ready to put in the truck. That's a Peterine there. That's a Rich. The one in the middle is a Rich. The one on the right is a Peterine.
That's Jim Rich walking to the fuel cabinet and Everett Drury.
That's Everett Drury. It's the one that's running the saw. That's Peterine trying to get his nose in there now. He's I thought he'd been out of here a long time. There's a lot of them Peterines down here. Every place you look almost with a Peterine. Who's it from now?
Boots Hubbard.
Butch Hubbard is a crane operator. We're going to load a box of glass for long, we hope. If we don't, we're going to have to go get some dinner someplace. Yeah, he looks real nice sitting in there. Well, that's Boots. They're over there getting another truck opened up so they can put the glass in to open the back doors. They got a cover over the top of them, and they cover the glass. He's walking up there going to disconnect it now. That's the present way they get it out of here now. In the old days, they didn't have all this stuff, but they get it out of there like they do now. But they got it out of here and got a lot of it out. It wasn't in the real fancy boxes or other stuff. It was more or less just packed in the biggest part of the trailers. Amos Scoville was CES Truck Lines. Back in my days was a big hauler of them. They've had a lot of different ones come in. My Uncle Joe Benner, he was, I guess, the main shipping clerk or whatever you would want to. They're ready in the trailer now to pick up the boxes, stapling boards into the floor of the trailer and everything. We thought you'd be interested in knowing just exactly how they do that now. Walk up. Walk up a little louder.
This tag here indicates that they've got a 10 side and a scored side. The scored side is up. Where you make the cut, this is the side that is floated across the pad to the 10. This is the 10 side. The scored is where, with the top side of the glass, where we make the cut to to make the length that we need from the ribbon. The 10 is where the bottom side floats across the bath, which gives us the finish coming down the main line.
That's in present day method of making glass with the tin bats. They didn't have the grinder and polisher in order to do that process anymore.
Raymond is now lowering his hoist. He's going to pick up a box of glass that we're going to ship out. This box is going to be shipped to California. The trainman will soon be picking this up. The head loader is now hooking the chain up. He's getting ready to hook this other end on. Now he's got it hooked up. The trainman will pick the glass up that's in this box.
Mr. Peter,
the man on the floor is turning the box so that he can bring it out. As soon as he clears these poles, the floor man will turn the box so he can transport it towards the truck.
Mr. Rich loading that glass in. They're unhooking the chains now. It's kind of dark, but there now you can see the chain. They're coming back to get another. Waiting on another box. He can hook that chain up on one side himself and drag it over to the other side, but another man has to hook it on to keep it from dragging off to one side. They've got that one hooked up. Now they're going to move out again. We're going to watch one more and that's it. Number 28 crane. Oh, they had an engine number or something. It's done the modern way. We used to load the railroad cars the same way, only they blocked them all in and everything else. I don't know if we're going to stay here long enough to get that or not. That's the general idea of the loading the trailers. It's pretty dark up there, but you can still see what's going on. You can see the sign says hits. That means the trailer is hitched into position. The ramp is up for the fork truck driver to drive his fork truck on up the ramp. Go ahead and load the glass into the trailer here. That is a added feature since I was here. I've been out of here for about 11 years or so.
They don't use handling the whole mirrors.
In this general area, more or less, is where they used to make the boxes for the glass. They made their own boxes and everything. But it's all a storage area now. One way or another, storage stuff. They had any number of saws and these big boxes. They put them on dollies and haul them around and make them up and put them and push them out and stack them and make so many of them a day. If you had a special order for a special size glass, allowed so many inches on each side and everything else to put your straw in, if you use straw or cardboard or what you use. But that was the general idea. These fellas here are putting the box together, getting ready to put the lid on it. We're going to walk down there for just a minute. Is a Keaton, and the boy on your right is a Schwint. He said he remembered me. He went to the machine shop just about the time I retired. I thought his face looked familiar, but really I couldn't place who the boy was. After you don't see him, the face looks familiar, but you just can't. On the box now. Automatic air nailers. Now they put that band in around there. And this was more or less a safety added feature. And when you get that all ready, they'll run that fork truck under there and pick that up and down. That's the way they usually do it. Flatbed, factory truck, or whatever you want to call it. Quentin bringing that in there. And Mr. Keaton's going to raise it up. There we go. They got a special stick there, dude.
Joe 1, please call 646. Joe 1, please call 646.
John's throwing in different places. Take that chain and go around the end of the bolt box. It's got 3-4 inches extra on the box to pick it up. Cable in chain in the wrong spot. Hook or something. Put them into the main back so they can haul them on out there. That's, I mean, everything got Schlneter down a little bit now. And there goes another load. Tell about this. This is an automatic stacker that unloads glass off of a table, places it on a conveyor, it runs into tuning fork, and it's cut up into sizes. Three of them in the boss, and I think there's 2 or 3 other bosses around different places. But that's just about the work on this end. We're bringing in a load of glass now.
This is Bob Winkle driving the pack truck. His assistant is Raymond Stotler. They're in the process of loading one of the tilt tables. This is a fairly important part of the job. You have to have a pretty much of a feel for the truck. We get a lot of glass breakage in this area if we don't have a completely conscientious driver. In fact, this trip wouldn't have been necessary if we hadn't have broke so much on the last pack. That's the truth.
Right, that's what they want. Now he's raising the parts up there. Release the glass to lay it back on the table.
Yeah, the parts prevent forward movement of the glass during transportation. That's about all there is to it. Specialized equipment. This is Stanley Seabaugh approaching.
This is Bob Schlneter taking the pictures. We thought you'd like to know about that. He was coming, Seabaugh's coming down through there like a wild man on that scooter. Hurry up and get something done.
Good. 3 millimeters.
You have a box and a box job, and we have 1 pack and 1 each.
Now they're releasing the
Cut this first.
bottom, get the board out on there to haul the glass, keep it from breaking.
We're going from 3 to 6 millimeters. We'll cut this one first.
No, they needed that. They knew we had a box and we got the glass.
There's a box on it.
Yeah, leading up against the wall going.
Immediate areas, the box and uncut they call it. Just odd and end, different sizes of glass. It comes up from there. Whoever's running the outfit, they decide what to cut and everything else. We're on the back side of the cranes that was picking the glass up and putting it on the table. They got some on this side too. There's one there. Then we go over in this area, general area here, that's where they drop all the rejects or the busted glass, and then they got a scoop right here. If they bust a lot of glass, then they go ahead and use this scoop. Bring in hoppers, put ones in, put the glass up and load it, put it in the hopper, they haul it out in the back and into the salt pile. We'll go out there right away and see where it's at.
This area was the old scratch wheel room. Better days, they did not polish out any defects in glass, they sold it as is. But in the days of mirrors, it was very necessary to remove all sleek and marks in the glass.
Dust collector there. You see all the pipes are around in different spots. That's to take the dust off the glass. So if you didn't breathe it, there goes one that goes over into the that outfit there's got a sort of a wheel on it with arms that come out and bust the glass whenever it goes in for the reject, and they're going down through there and trying to get it. Every place where there's any busted glass, you see some of these pipes going across through there. And they go down and suck the dust out of it. This is a special pipe here. This is going over the dust collector coming out, going down and around, down behind the post, goes down, come on down, gets down to the floor length, right in through here. All this in here. And then goes over the side of the conveyor and down the side of the conveyor. Bob Schlneter, your photographer. is the one that drew all this up and measured it and installed it. Don Schlneter was the welder the biggest part of the time on it. This is another view of it with the hoses. Had a double transition going to round off the square. They wanted it made out of heavy stuff, so if a truck or anything run into it, it would not damage it or anything. So, as I said before previously on different things, I really wasn't in the sheet metal shop at that time, and out on the floor of the machine shop, being it was heavier than sheet metal work, yours truly got the job of making the stuff. It all fit up real good. I was really surprised at the whole works. Then it goes down and goes across the conveyor to pick the dust up whenever the glass comes through and it's busted. This is what they call a chopper. In the old days in the factory, the glass that was reject or anything coming down the conveyor, whenever it got into the lift table to go one way or the other, whatever direction it was supposed to go. If it was a reject, they run it on down into this part here, which was another one that had a big wheel in it and a vibrator, and you get everything to more or less bust the glass up and send it on out to the elevator, and the elevator had either a hopper sitting in the back of it or a truck sitting there waiting to get loaded and haul the scrap away. This is just a general idea of what the rolls look like on the drive. They changed them while they were running, just loosened them up and took the 2 bolts out of the bearings on the end and had a crane and just lift them right out of there and bring a new one over and sit it down in, both bearings in, and off they would go. This was the general area of the float. Right in that area there is where we were previously at. Send the glass up to where the stacker table glass brought in a load of it while ago and put it on the table to lay it down so they could pick it up with some vacuum cups and put it over in a different position, run it up on the conveyor and cut up whatever size the machine was set for. This was a colored hopper. Any busted glass or anything that they would send out here, they would let it store into that hopper there. The bottom half of it is lined with special abrasive metal. They got a door going in the side of it, up a little higher. About 1, 2, 3, about the 3rd rung up there on it. You can see where the brace more or less goes across on the ironwork, the frame holding it. Ted Bryant and I put plates in there. Ted welded them in, and I figured out the best way I could what size to get and everything else to make them to go in there. And it's what they call the high elevator. It went up. Really, it done a real good job. It didn't have a whole lot of trouble with it. The chute coming down going in, it had a special plates in it, more or less keep them from wearing out so quick. This is the outside area where we was at on the conveyor coming down through there. They called a chopper area in there. They used to have more of an elevator in the days whenever I worked here. And the elevator went up and put the glass in, but I see they put a concrete bin out here now, and they got a belt going up, coming out of the shaker. They call them shaker pans. And went over, and it had a chute there with a motor and a vibrator on it. If anything went wrong, and jumped down into the cullet bin. This was a general area. The building in the back was a carpenter shop. We'll try to get down there. If we don't, we'll get down there after a while. This is more or less bins of cullet, storage and stuff. They had these all over the place. They used to have coal piles like this. The round tank in the background was put in by Neuter Corporation. It was a storage tank, 1 million gallon of oil. In case gas got low or they told them to not burn gas or anything. They had conversion burners they put in the tank, and in the process of conversion burners, they burned diesel oil more or less. After so long a time of keeping it in there, they got a little moisture in it, and a lot of times they would let the truck drivers fill their trucks, Pittsburgh trucks, and use the diesel fuel in there to get it down a little bit and put in some fresh stuff to more or less keep the octane, I guess, more or less where it was in a good burning range. We'll try to get down there sometime. Okay.
This scene brings back memories. This was a scene of our restaurant. It was Mr. Courtney ran a restaurant here, and it was the biggest business place in town at the time the Dew Plate was in operation. This was where the kitchen was. The range hood and the stains on the wall are still showing. There's a little vent fan over there that helped to cool the kitchen back in the days of no air conditioning. The right-hand wall was alongside of the dining room, and there's one entrance on this corner.
They had one single row of seats in there back in what they called the good old days, and you could come in that way. The man from the restaurant that went for the dinners and everything else, he come in that door and it had either a push cart or a little couple of arm carts that he carried along, and anybody in the shop wanted a dessert or a sandwich or a plate lunch. That was his job whenever it come time to go for dinner to get the lunch.
The other door here is cut in.
This was a men's locker room up on this end. This was inside, more or less. They had doors that come in. You could come in from the outside or you could come in from the inside. Then down on the other end down there, we're going to pan down there as quick as we can and get down there. There's a entrance there. You could go either way. You could come in that way and go to the men's locker room, or you could go to your left and go down to the women's locker room. We're down on the other end. Down in this area here was more or less women's locker rooms. And if you went on down a little farther down into here is where they packed the Dew Plate glass. They come around a conveyor, all different sizes of glass. They had all kind of different boxes and straw and everything. York truly tried that on his initial hiring in down here, and brother, he'd like to work me to death. I couldn't keep up with that any way at all. Then they had a wall that went along. We'd take a picture over this way, and in that vicinity there was just more or less a storage area for glass coming to the Herculite. We're in the general area of the old Herculite department right at the present time. Reading we taking this, we come through to see if we can go beat somebody out of a lunch or something, and then come back and kind of see if we couldn't finish these pictures up. But this was the general area of the Herculite department. There was a water tank in the general vicinity of this area here. It's set up right over where that more or less legs and where we're centered more or less. And they used a lot of the water into the different departments here, Herculite and Dew Plate system. Then over in here, we're going over a little farther into this area is where they got it roped off. They had furnaces for tempering the glass. I don't know, they had ones for ventilators, they had them for the rear windows, they had them for side ventilators and all of such. They had tongs that they would hang that glass on, and in the process they'd go through the furnace, and when they come out on the other end they were all tempered and hard, and sometimes if they got real hot in the car they would explode. There was a outfit out in town. I don't really recall what their name was, but I think Katie and somebody else had a glass company. It just so happened that I was looking for a piece of glass one day, and in the process of looking for a piece of glass, I went there, and a fellow brought in a piece of glass. He said, I'd like to get this piece of glass cut. And the guy said, all right, just lay her down there on the table. Well, in being that I had worked down here in a hook light and a dew plate for a while, I looked at it and I saw the tongue marks. It made a little indenture in the end of the glass where they hung them up and run them through the furnace. And I thought, well, maybe this old boy's found some system to cut that glass. He had a piece, I'd say it was 3 foot wide, maybe 4 foot long, 4.5 foot. They used to take a lot of the glass and make desktops and things like that. And if you had furniture that you didn't want to get scratched, you get a piece of that glass. You could buy it reasonable, and if you know somebody, they'd more or less run through the furnace and temper it for you. But if you hit it on the edge, it would just explode. So this fellow laid it down on the table and measured off just what size he wanted, took his glass cutter and scratched across through there, and I thought, boy, I think you're messing up here, but he did it anyhow. In the process, he tried to break it and tried to break it, and finally looked down and saw the tongue marks, and he said, I'm sorry, I can't cut that piece of glass. That's her glass. Machine shop stuff over here, and they got over the machine shop now. They really haven't got too much either place to go, but most of it around. And old belt sander, it may have belonged over here in the first place. Majority of the stuff was being moved over in here, moved out of the office and put out here on the floor. They got quite a place over here. Ron just had to pick up another piece of electronic equipment, being he was an instrument man. He's holding it out there for a little bit of display there, and now he's going to pick it up where we can see him. He gets instrument fever whenever he sees this stuff. He said, look at all this old stuff around here, all the old instruments and stuff. He just couldn't stand it without stopping and taking a look. So that's some of our time is going in there. It could have been spent otherwise. Pack truck's down getting another load of glass down there now. But we just had to take another picture of it coming up through there. Taking them a long time to get her. They must not want to damage any of it. They ain't gonna bring that up here. They didn't get none. They put one in. This building after I left, that was more or less a straw shed or just a storage paper and all the stuff like that. And in the process, well, they don't have nothing in there but stuff they're going to auction off, old trucks, park trucks and such. And we'll go over here to this other side. That's what they had their fire hose in. They throw the top of it off and the full air fire hose. They'd pull it and run with it or hooked it up to a fire plug, which is right there next to it, and go if they had a fire, put the fire out. In this Quonset hut over here, this was a more or less experimental place there. They had all kinds of tools and different people in there, and during the war, they used that to experiment on airplane glass, drill holes, and all kinds of odds and ends. And if we're going over here a little more to your left, keep going to your left, you see the door right in that area there. In the process of that door there, that's where they got packages that they was going to ship overseas. They would come in and put some kind of stuff in them to keep bugs and stuff from being in them whenever they went overseas, and transporting diseases from one country to another. It was all a contaminated area. In this picture you see a lot of the colored piles that were around. The color piles now are enormous. They used to have coal in the same type of piles that they have this color now. They'd have fire hose going in and squirting water in them all the time, keep the combustion down so that the coal piles wouldn't catch on fire. And we look in the background, is what they call Buck Knob. There's a few of them that worked at Pittsburgh, walked in from up in there. They got a few houses. They got a little property for sale up in there. It's all undermined. Sand mines is under there, a lot of things. We're not going to get to sand mines because years and years ago, the sand mines were sold to an individual outfit. This area here is a box storage area now, and such as that. They get all the boxes made out of the factory. They don't have nobody in here to make boxes anymore. They haven't had nobody in there for years. In fact, this used to be a lumber storage shed. They buy lumber from different outfits and they store it in here, and then they had a person that, in the process, lumber that had to be so dry to keep it from warping or making bad boxes, and they had a person that took care of all this lumber and had some kind of a meter, and go and put that meter on the lumber, and you could tell if it was supposed to be dry or wet or what. And that building right there was that person's office. In the wintertime, it was pretty cold, but it was a pretty good job. Signs in the backyard of the plant. We're just about winding up now. It tells where different outfits are at. Unisil, that was the name of the sand mine. You went down through here and down to the back road. They had a bridge going across the creek. We can't get in there now. They got it all blocked off. A bunch of kids got in there, years ago. One of them fell down in one of the air chutes, broke a couple legs, and they had a rescue squad, the ambulances, and a little bit of everything in there to kind of get him out of there. They had quite some time. I don't know, it was 100 feet deep or something or other, whatever it was, he fell in, and they had posted signs from no trespassing allowed, but people that want to go in and see what's going on, just like us. We're trying to see what's actually. This is a parking lot for the empty trailers and the full trailers. On one side they put the full ones, and on the other side they put the empty ones. They got a special outfit in here that comes down and pulls these trailers and parks them on the lot here, and in the process, whenever somebody comes in, they want a load of glass, or they got a truck that they're pulling, their Pittsburgh driver or whatever it is, they come down here and get their load of glass and head on out. As this pile says here, the sign on it says gray light. This is just one of the colored piles. There are many of around here. I don't know if they intend to sell colored or what, but there's another bottle plant around here that uses color to make bottles and stuff like that. They may be able to pawn that off on them. And we're going to pan back across and get another view of it. While we're at it, it's all for the same. It's no extra charge on it or anything else like that. It's the building down there in the background, way back down in there, if you can see it, was what they called a creek pump house. They pumped the water out of the creek and sent it up to the factory where they didn't have to have filtered water or anything else for grinding glass and polishing it and stuff like that. They didn't have to have filtered water. All they had to have was a water so they could mix stuff and wash the glass off, and they used a lot of creek water. They had several pumps down there. They had a man that usually worked around the clock there for a long time, and then later on it got more automated and everything else, and all the man had to do was just walk around in there every once in a while and see that everything was under control. And that's the story on that. I don't think we're going to get much closer to that building what we are right now. This building behind the fence and the color pile that you can see the lights in it if you can, and the two smokestacks in behind was what they call the old dual-light building. Whenever they made duplate glass, they got a thin stuff and a real thin sheet of glass from other plants. They had a sheet of paper in between them and everything else, and they had what they call paper pullers and all kind of different people that would get the glass ready to go to duplate. They had if you made a piece of duplate, You used a thick and a thin. If you used an extra heavy strength, you used 2 thick plates. And if you used 2 real thin plates, you had a special name for that. They had all different kind of glass that they made, different sizes, all depending on what the individual wanted. In the process, I worked in the duplex when I first started. These smokestacks that you see back there, one of them used to be higher than the other. For some reason or other, I think they added another 50 feet on them to level them off or make them look the same. They're all lined with bricks on the inside. It was quite an ordeal. And then on the lower half of it, if we get around to it, they reinforced them. They put about a 6 or 8 inch angle iron on them and welded them up about 50 feet high or so to kind of reinforce them. But they were getting old and they was afraid they was going to fall over. I don't know what this represents here. It was laying out here on a parking on the color spot. Whether it's a happy jack or down in the dump jack. They got them painted around in different parts of the factory where they're shutting down. Pictures similar to this, painted in yellow with tears on them, and when the factory shut down. This is the old storage tank. They kept diesel fuel in. They built it in later years. They got a pond around the outside of it in case that they would have a leak or anything in it. The oil wouldn't get out all over the place. It'd stay in one area. And if you notice down lower here, the railroad tracks. The railroad tracks went over to sand mines. It went on down around the curve there and went in, down through the fence and down through the bluff. They had a tunnel down through there. That tunnel must have been a half a mile down through there. When you got back in the middle of it, it was kind of spooky. You could throw a rock over into the side and hear it hit upon the water and bounce around in there. We're not going to get over there, but that's just a general idea. They had quite a sand mine over there. All of the ground was undermined and everything else. They had a sand dryer, mechanics, electricians, drillers, whatnot, a little bit of everything. And in the process, they lowered it into the railroad cars and haul it back over here and take it over to Batch House for batch. Then we're going to move over here to this building right down here on the, right in to the left of the storage oil tank there. We'll try to bring it in a little closer than what it is there. And Don's going to tell you what that was.
You got that in there?
Yeah.
This building here is built like an explosive bunker. Originally, when plate glass first came out in '35, when they started here, they were using what they call Parolin. Parolin was a relative of gun cotton. It was nitrate Parolin, and it was extremely flammable. And they stored this just the same as they would in gasoline or a explosive bunker. They had concrete walls, and it was separated into different divisions. It wasn't too long after that they came out with vinyl. And after that, vinyl was used between the glass because it's more flexible and not near as dangerous to handle.
Then we move on over here to the left in this building here, which is old type tin corrugated metal building here. That was a lumber storage area for the carpenter shop. And the building in back of it was the carpenter shop at one time. I don't remember how many carpenters they had, but they did have quite a few carpenters. My dad was a carpenter, and later on in years, after he got up pretty far, well, he was a straight edge maker, a square maker, and stuff like that. They had special planes and everything to make sure that all the edges were straight and everything else. We're going to take another picture of this color pile. It's very interesting. This is more of the color piles that are around in different places. There's just a lot of color piles. Color pile, color pile, color pile. Go on, swing around. That's a railroad track coming back from sand mines, going to sand mines. This is your storage tank. We're going to come on around, and we're going to go by the piling building, as Don explained to you a while ago, and by the carpenter storage lumber shed and the carpenter shop, and we'll come on around. And the building you're looking at right now is what they call the peg shop. They made different sizes sticks to go in to hold the glass in the tables where they were grinding it and stuff as that. They was all different sizes. They had one man who worked in there all the time. They had a saw set up so that maybe they could cut maybe a dozen of one size, and then they'd cut them all in little pieces and so forth. We'll try to get another picture before we get out, and we're going on down. And as I said before, the building in the back was a two-plate storage building, a paper rack and such. Yeah, it was also a shipping area. The building you're looking at there was a substation, air compressor room, and whatnot was later added on to the backside of the wareroom. They couldn't get enough air for everything that they had and all the other stuff, so they got another big air compressor and put it down in here, and would help the pump house and the filtration plant. And we're going to scan this area on down through here. It was used in them days more or less for a storage area. That tank there, they had a big other tank that they would fill full of oil and make a fire in it, and in the process they used that for fire practice. In this area here they kept old railroad and odd and ends, different sizes of pipe, steel and everything else that they would possibly have a use for later on. And here is another hose storage in case they had the fire back here. They'd grab the hose and run and hook it to a fire plug. Then we'd go on over, and then this building here was where they had the peg shop. They made pegs and little strips to hold the glass even on the tables, keep them from coming off. Then we'd put plaster on there. The reason they used wood, they could grind the wood and it wouldn't bother the glass in it. And then we'd swing on over here a little more, and that was the paint storage area. They used a big 55-gallon barrels of turpentine, all kind of things for paint thinner and such as that, and they moved on over. Well, that was the paint department. They had the mixing room in there, locker room. At the time I come down here, Richard Martin was a foreman in the painters. They had a White Portel, a person by the name of Quesnel, Keaton, Booyer, any number of people. Well, they're long gone. This here part here was part of a runner polisher thing. I'm going over here and show you exactly what it was used for. If this man here don't get his face in here and mess my picture up. And each one of these holes here, look at here, 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 here. They had big round felt pads. They put them round felt pads, and in the center here it was driven by a shaft maybe 6-8 inches diameter, went on up into a big gear. I don't see no big gears around, but this is a wood pad. They sent them up to different foundries and have them casted and made. It was quite an ordeal. But each one of them black plugs that you can see in there, they had a big, 30-inch polish block. Felt pad, and that would polish and go around in circles like this, and that's how they would get their glass polished. I'm Robert Schlneter. I'm taking all these pictures in case you'd like to know. This is the only lumber storage that's left in here. There used to be all kind of mahogany, walnut, any kind of lumber you want, maybe 12 inches wide, 20 foot long. I don't know where they'd ever get such long trees or long boards, and then they would plane them down to whatever size they wanted. Enormous amount of lumber supply just for carpenter work alone. Years back, they had everybody laid off and everything else. They decided they were going to make pellets. I probably told you about that before. But in the process of making the pellets, this was part of the pelletizer machine that they had to put them in storage or whatnot. Here you see, I made that about, hard to tell how many years ago. I've been retired for going on 12 years now. They were going to take heat off the layer and heat some of the office buildings around close by, maybe 50 feet away or so. They had a little fan they was going to put in. If you notice on top and right here on the right-hand side, there's sort of a transition affair squared around with a ring on it. They was going to put a sort of a fan in there and pull that heat out of the layer of the tank and take it over into some of the buildings that were cold in the wintertime and use that heat to keep them warm. I made it all up and got ready to take it down and put it in. Hauled it on that, I guess that same pallet, took it down there. Got down, they said, what are you going to do? I said, we're going to put this in and heat them offices up there. And I said, we need all the heat on that layer we can get. So I often wondered what happened to that stuff, and here it is. These farms here that you're looking at were farms for the Crown, the ports, and so forth. It had the round part. We were in the float tank, and you could see in the ceiling whenever I showed the picture of it that the crown was round, and I talked about the buck staves and turnbuckles holding the brick into the shape. They put boards on top of this and made it just like a regular building, and would stack the bricks on it and put the key, as they called it, in the center whenever they got them all up so far. The key was tapered on both sides, and they would put it down in there, and then with the turnbuckles and the buck staves, that all stayed into the position that these farms are. And the small ones were used for the ports, but the ones in the back were used for the top of the melting tank alone. This corner in here was a big long wooden bench in there. My dad, Henry Schlneter, worked on that bench making straight edges and whatnot. In his younger days when he worked in here, he made mallets, all kinds of things on the lathe. He had a little lathe at home, a little tinkering, like everybody's got a little shop. I wasn't really interested in carpenter work. I guess being that he was a carpenter, that was enough in the family. I thought I needed something else. The gentleman you see coming in there with the paper and everything is with the auction company. They're going to auction this place off next week. Everything that's in here. We're just about to wind up the pictures we're taking, and in the background that you can see upstairs there is more or less office and stuff. The window in it, the opening and everything. And that was where Jimmy Robinson set the biggest part of time. Look out the window and watch the carpenters. Make sure they was all busy and everything else. Then they have onto the right over here, the steps going up. Another one of the foremen would sit over there on a bench. If you quit early, well, he'd come down and tell you you quit too early, or maybe you better be doing something. They changed clothes upstairs if you had enough clothes to change, but a lot of them didn't have only the clothes they was wearing. This was the paint shop, as I mentioned before. We just got a little closer to it. My cohort, Don, wanted to take a picture of it. He said that's been around longer than he had, and it's been around longer than both of us put together have. This was a loading dock for whenever they had to do plate, percolite, back a truck in and loaded. Had the boxes, they'd run the truck in and load them, stack them up windshields and whatnot. As I said before, that's a old dualite building. A lot of other odd and ends, mostly just a shipping area. And we're going to keep on a pan in this area, being that we're here already. And you can see the building in the background was storage area and buildings and such, and some more of that good old color. Back in the earlier days, they had coal packed up like this back here, and they burned it in the boiler room and around in different places. I talked to one man that had some pictures of when they had people making pots to melt the glass in. During the war, I was over in Germany, and we stayed in a glass factory over there. I don't remember, Maastricht, Holland was the name of the place. They made glass in pots then, but they was more or less crystal. They made glasses and such as that. We stayed in there for a number of days and moved on out. And when we moved out, run into a little German trouble and ended up back there. In the process of coming back, to make the story a little longer and a little shorter, or whatever you'd like to call it, we're going over here and you can observe some of this other stuff. I lost my dog tags on the way, moving in or out or something or other. And somebody come up and said, are these your dog tags? Some of them Germans or Hollandese or whatever you would call them could speak. And I looked at them and I thought, oh, I wonder how they got them dog tags. That's when you had your complete history on them, your address and the whole works. And later on, they just put your name on them, and then whether you was a Catholic or a Protestant or what in your serial number, and that was just about all they give on you on account of the prisoner distribution and such as that. Then we're going over here to the right again. We're going to see the buck knob and the towers for the power coming into the factory. And then we'll go over here and there's another big one there. That's a line coming across the river, coming in there in that area, and they distribute for Union Electric around the whole plant and everything else. It's got quite a history behind it. It's a pretty nice looking place there now. We'll just pan on around it and show you some of this color and stuff. It's still out here. I think they used this here for more or less a clearer color. In the process, we're going back over here and take another look at this hill. And this sign here shows you that we're looking for the Unisil. After the sand mines were sold, that was what they called it. But we're not going to get down to Unisil because they've got a big blockade going across the railroad track there, and nobody can get over there. So we'd love to go down and show it to you, but there's no way we can get there, so might as well forget about that. And in the process, we're going to make a complete revolution right here if we can do it with it still staying in focus and moving fast enough for us to get out of the sun. When we get the facing into the sun, the picture may not be good, but you can blame that on the photographer or the historian, Don Miller. He's the one in charge of all this stuff. I'm just a picture taker, more or less, and we're going to try to put this into a history film, maybe a 6-hour tape or whatever it all ends up as. We're going to keep on panning around in this area here where this is a carpenter shop again, and then we'll go back over into the storage area for the trailers and the paint shop and so on, and the peg shop and to your left and so forth and so forth. This is a duplicate area we previously had talked about, storage, glass area where they brought the glass in for. This is thinner stuff. They send these to different factories, either to make windshield backlights or whatever it was. There you can see handle with care, this side up and so forth, and then going. This is all more or less backlight size or whatever it is. It's sent in rough and they cut it at the plant wherever it's going to go. There's my friend looking at one of the stamps on. And we go on over and go through here. So Duolite storage building is what I tried to get out a while ago, but it didn't want to come out for some reason. That's a drill press. It was over in the machine shop. I guess they've got it out here for storage to go to some other plant or something. They're not going to auction it maybe. There's a storage tank sitting right next to it and going around. More glass and people looking to see what's what and everything else. That was Jerome Nagger. He's one of the last few to work here. He worked with me for a few years, taking a little training which he taught. He was a pretty fair mechanic. His dad and brother and them had a little bit of a business, grocery store, fix-it shop, air conditioning, and whatnot. So he was a pretty handy fellow to have around. So this was a scale, more or less, for these boxes of glass that were around in different places to weigh them before they put them in their truck, make sure that they didn't get too much in their truck and have it overweighed and so forth to ship it around to whoever wanted it, or whoever ordered or bought it or whatever you had. This was a automatic cutter on the glass. Whenever it would trip in a different spot and coming down, the cutter would automatically turn on. And you can see it's sitting at an angle with the rolls. That was set at an angle to go with the speed of the layer of the glass coming down in order for it to cut across and not cut on an angle, so they had the cutter sitting on an angle. That was the same speed as the rolls on a layer coming down through there, and it would cut it, and you couldn't put a square on it to what it wasn't square. This is a little fella here that run around on the track going down through here. You can see the track there, and it run the same speed. And you can also see a cable going up there with a bunch of hoses around it. That hose there was an air hose. It run that machine down below, and whenever it would run over that, it would automatically, when it get to the far side, which we're going to show you here in just a few minutes, if we can pan it on across there and get over to the far side, it would come over here and hit a limit switch, and in the process of hitting that limit switch over on this side, it reversed itself, went back over and get into position, wait for another piece to come down through whatever length they was wanting it set at, and automatically the machine would start up, come across, cut the glass. Before that, when the old tanks, they had a big slide. I'd say it was 2 feet wide, made out of probably stainless steel or something real hard, and the people wore pads on their knees. They had what they called a diamond cutter. I don't know if there's any around anymore or not, but they used that diamond cutter, and that slide that them people slid across on the cut of glass also moved just like this thing here. It moved along with the glass, only instead of it sitting at an angle, it came straight across, and the person slid across. Oh, you could slide across that thing in a second. You didn't know what was going on. Then it went on down. One of the rolls raised up, broke the glass, and went on down the line. This was in the area of quality control. These lines on here would do something whenever they put a piece of glass up and look at it or something or other and show whether it was distorted or you were seeing double or whatever it was. You may be seeing double now, but in this area was what they called a quality control. Now we're going to go up here real high, and you can see that. That's a steam line going through. That U shape there is an expansion joint. If the steam line got hot or cold and wanted to move back and forth or whatever it was going to do, that fellow there would take care of the expansion of the pipes. The stick Don's holding is a stick that they would bust glass with. It's maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches, sort of a hexagon affair. It's made out of probably oak or maple or something. If the glass was coming down and they didn't want it, they'd take that stick and bust it across the conveyor and fall on the floor, and they take big long handle rakes and hoes and break it out from under there and haul it away. But that was what that stick was for. This is the end of the layer where the glass came out of. That was called a layer, tempering layer. It run all from the full length of where the glass came out of the molten tank into this part here, came on down through here, and they had to keep it a certain degree, the temperature all the way down through there to where I showed you where the part was at. In the process, that would make the glass soft or whatever they were trying to get out of it. They had a person that went around and looked in them holes. They had a some kind of instrument. Maybe Don can tell you about that instrument. They would poke in holes and take the temperature of different places.
Oh, the optical thermometer was used on the hot end of the tank. They had contact thermometers that they could reach out and feel any part of the glass and tell its temperature until it got up about 800 degrees.
That's about all we can tell you about this down here. This is an old scaffold. It's not old, it's pretty modern. This is electric eyes and everything else on wheels that move around, push it around, or pull it around with a truck or whatever. If you had a higher job and you needed something to get up high on or something like that, you could bring this machine in and get it within range of where you was working. And in the side up here, you can see pipes that are square. You would raise them up and sort of make a cage and close it around you. They had a 500-pound capacity, but I think they had a lot more than 500 pounds in them. This is a general area where they sprayed the glass to make it mirror shape, mirror colored and so forth. As we went through here, and they had a machine that went through. There were spray guns on it, and they sprayed the glass. Then they had hoods that went in on that track. In the process, they sucked all the fumes out and go up over. Well, we'll go up here and see if we can get them up in here. They had big blowers up in there, and these pipes here would take the fumes out. Oh, they were strong, smelling stuff. You may be able to smell it on this picture now. And here, you could look in there and see the tin, see how it was doing in the bath or and such as that. You could also add tin to the bath there if you needed it. This is general area. The tank where the glass came out and went into the layer here, and they had a little spout like, and the glass would come out through there and go down through, come on down, and go down and come down a little chute and go down here. And this is what they called a bath. It was filled full of millions of dollars worth of tin to let that glass float on. It was so clear and everything else. They had polishing wheels that they could have polished it with, but they really didn't need them because the glass come out so good. This picture of this big hook is what they pulled the railroad cars with. They had about 1.5 inch, 2 inch hole, rope. They put through that hole on that hook and used it on a winch. Maybe the rope was 100 feet long, maybe 200 feet long. They drag it in and put that hook in the side of a railroad car and pull the railroad car from one position in where they were unloading, whatever they were unloading, call it sand, soda ash, and such. This counter is hooked up to a wheel to raise and lower for the amount of glass coming in and out of the tank. Before, they didn't have no way of knowing what was going on or anything else, and in the process, well, I dreamed up the idea of putting one of those counters on it, and it's got a coupling going into the wheel. Whenever they wanted to go up or down, they could tell by the counter how much, after so much use, that it would show. And then in the back, you can see another one in the back there that was also used in conjunction with the one in the front. And that is the name of the game right there. This hook you're looking at was one like we took a picture of outside. I said it had the big rope that they would put around the winch and pull a railroad car. Here's a piece of the rope and the hook and everything, all ready to go. All they got to do is find somebody who can lift it and carry it and put it on a railroad car and then wind the whole rope around the winch and start it up and get going with it. I've looked high and low for this fella. I don't know where they had it hid out or anything else. In my time of working down here, this fellow was painted yellow, a diesel electric. They had a little trouble with it one time and had a wiring malfunction or something whenever they first got it. It didn't run right or something or other. I don't remember what it was. It was a number of years ago. And they had different people from the company to come look at it and see what was wrong with it and so forth and so forth. And in the process, they had an electrician here. He wore his hat on the side and his bill hanging down over his ear. He looked about 2/3 wild. His name was Ted Schreier. He was one of the sharpest electricians I think I've ever run into. And I've run into a lot of good people. But anyhow, Ted looked at that engine and looked at the electrical works on it and everything else, and it wasn't too long he found out the trouble with it. The company that put it out, the diesel electric company that put it out, offered him a much better job than what he had here, but he liked the job he had here and stayed here. But that's a story on it. We looked and looked for it. I don't know where they've had it hid out at, but it wasn't sitting in here. And then you can see the PPG emblem on the side and everything. Cletus Roth was the mechanic on it the last time. Before that, it was Clarence Perriman. I've told different stories on Clarence, so I'm not going to